It's a Festivus miracle.
3. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Let's begin. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Welcome to a very special, very different formatted Pensar Basketball Live, in which we are going to go through a Christmas wish list. This is part 1 of 2. We will do 2 tomorrow on Christmas Day, but Merry Christmas Eve to all of you. I know this community has been a very tight-knit one, and sometimes suffering creates a bond that lasts for a lifetime. And I think that we as Raptor fans are very confused, and probably most of you have your own wish list. So today's live is different and I think pretty cool. And I spent a little bit of time really thinking about my Christmas wish list, and I hope it'll be interesting. So I cue this live off by telling you the rules of this live. The live starts as follows. We have about 32 people in here. So basically, I'm going to ask you guys go, or I'm going to say next item, and you are going to be in charge. So basically, you're in charge of what item I cover, and it's numbered 1 through 30, and we're just going to go with whatever number you go with. So pick a number between 1 and 30, and I'll tell you what that item is on my wish list. And so we start our Christmas special. I hope you guys are having a great evening. I hope this team... Okay, the first one, 7. Okay. I'm just going to go with whatever goes first. We got a whole bunch of numbers here. I appreciate y'all, like how all these numbers. I'm just going to pick one at random. So when I say go, I'm just going to pretty much close my eyes. I'm going to look down, and the first one I click on is what we're going to do. Try to keep track of the numbers that we already go through. I'm going to keep deleting them off. However, if you pick a repeat number, if I pick a repeat number, if I flash a repeat number on, then I'm just going to go to the next one down. So if it's 7 and 7's been covered, I'm just going to go to 6. Okay. So let's start with number 7. And I don't remember what these are, so we're just going to be very random about this. We had to start there. Oh, man. Okay. The most obvious and hilarious one is 7. A change to the starting lineup. That's what I want. I don't know if that's what y'all want, but despite Darko Rajakovic saying it's very cosmetic, I don't have a lot to say about this. I feel like I've pretty much devoted 12 hours to why the starting lineup needs to change. I want to see it change for a multitude of reasons. Namely, I don't think it works. I don't think it's an effective unit. It doesn't provide spacing for the players that need spacing, and I think Dennis Schroeder or Jakob Poeltl would be better off the bench. I think both have some creation, some intelligence that they can bring to the bench. Not Dennis Schroeder, not really, intelligence per se, but he's certainly a better player than Malachi Flynn. As much as I prefer Malachi and like Malachi more, he's a better player than Malachi Flynn at this point. So even if the change was swapping those two, as much as I'm not an advocate for starting Malachi Flynn, but if Darko needs a second guard in the lineup, I much prefer Malachi's synergy with that first unit than Dennis's. I also think Malachi is probably more respected as a shooter around the NBA. Just because Dennis has been around for so long as a non-shooter, I feel like his reputation sort of precedes him. So I say this to say that I don't necessarily... Oh, that's cool. Kehan Baria saying, "Yo, Rob, bro, I saw a Javon Freeman Liberty in passing at the airport today. I told him I hope they play you instead of Malachi. He laughed and said, yeah. Yeah. A lot of guys at the end of the bench think they should be getting minutes, and I don't think Javon's wrong. I think he should be getting minutes. Anyway, let's go on to the next item. I don't have a tremendous amount to say about that. There are certain items where I'm going to have a lot more to say about it. This isn't one of them. I think I've already exhausted every single thing. So let's get the next number up. I am trying desperately not to sneeze. I'm holding back a sneeze. All right. YOURGOAT, appreciate it, man. And appreciate the Okay, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm just going to pick a number that comes up. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so 7 is out. Sneeze. That's appreciated. Okay, so I'm gonna delete 7. Delete 7 so that we don't repeat it. Okay, your goat goes with 11. Okay. $11 is playoffs and a competent first round. Okay. All right. This is going to be a little bit confusing for some people. Does Rob really want the Raptors to make the playoffs and lose their draft pick? Hell yes, I do. Look, man, you're not going to be bad enough to be bad in this draft, okay? There's a lot of teams below you. Charlotte, Toronto 416 saying not happening. Look, man, worst teams than the Raptors have made the playoffs. There's a lot of teams ahead of us that are crumbling. I definitely think it's perfectly within the reason of possibility that it could happen. Now, what I'm trying to say is that everyone wants to tank because they want the bottom 6 pick. I'm trying to tell you, first of all, even if you finish with the bottom 6 record, your pick is not guaranteed, because if even one team leaps you from 7, 8, 9, 10, you lose the pick. So you have to finish pretty much bottom 4 to almost guarantee yourself your pick. Bottom 5 would be safe, probably, but bottom 6 is most likely. Y'all remember the Pistons finished 5th. Sorry, your goat. This is your question, but the Pistons finished 5th last year. I mean, sorry, they finished with the worst record in the league, and they got leapfrogged by 4 teams. They were number 1 in the Victor Wembanyama Sweepstakes. So you don't want to leave your draft pick up to the lottery gods. You definitely, this is not the season to tank and look, the other thing is there's no guarantee you're not going to be bad the next year. So you're restarting the cycle all over again, but this time in a much, much, much better draft. You'll owe the San Antonio Spurs a pick next year. Now, would I rather give up the 7th pick this year or the 13th pick in 2025? I'd rather give it the 7th pick this year. I don't want this draft pick hanging over us anymore. Surrender it. Get rid of it. To everyone thinking tank, 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 you're not really thinking about this. Now, also, Scotty's a really good player. Chances are he could get better throughout the year. So there's at least a chance that you could be competitive in a playoff series, and you just don't know. You don't know who you face, if they're facing injuries. I just want a competitive first round. Is that too much to ask? Even if we're the 8th seed and we go up against Boston and we win 1 game, I'll take it, because that would be growth. Look, it wouldn't have been growth if it was, a Pascal and Fred-led team. This is not a Pascal and Fred-led team. This is a Scotty-led team. And a Scotty-led team making the playoffs, think about what are the Pacers trying to do right now? To get Tyrese some help to make the playoffs. Is Tyrese really that much better than Scotty Barnes? Not really. Not really. If you trust the analytics and you understand inflation and stats and pace and all that stuff, he's not really that far ahead. And he's older. So you should be hoping for the Raptors to get a competitive roster around Scotty Barnes to make a run for the playoffs. I'm just saying that. Okay? All right. Next number up. I'm looking down, and the first one I see when I look up is what we're going to go with. Okay, hang on. Let me just it was 11, right? Okay, delete 11. Let's go on. So I'm not looking at the comments, I'm going to go with the first one that I look at, and it's going to be 23. D1 S1 23. Okay. All right. What's number 23? Item 23 is health and growth for all the players. I appreciate that y'all are picking all the boring ones right now, because there's some funny ones and some good ones and some insightful ones. But I truly believe that I want this team to grow. Okay. If Precious Achua ends this season like a starting level player, I'll consider this season almost a borderline success. If OG Anunoby continues to develop this handle, mid-range, 3-level scoring, finishing at the rim, competent pick and roll ball handling, a little bit of creation, a little bit of dribble isolation stuff. If we could get that, I would be very, very pleased. Okay. Grady Dick, Malachi Flynn. I mean, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, these are all assets. These are all players under contract. And going into the trade deadline, I just want some of these guys to develop and get better. Okay. So health and growth for all the players. The health part of this is very important. The Raptors have been relatively healthy, if not the most healthy team in the league. They have not, touch wood, suffered a single major injury to any of their core pieces. You've had Pascal and Scotty for every single game this season. You've had Dennis Schroeder for every single game this season, although some of you have been wishing a career-ending or season-ending injury for him. Otto has been relatively healthy as well. He's just been somewhat unavailable due to Darko Rajakovic's reluctance to play him. So apart from Christian Koloko, really, you've pretty much had your entire rotation for almost the entire year. OG Anunoby, not the most durable player historically. He's only had one minor setback, and it was due to him slicing his finger during doing chores. It wasn't like something serious. So I just look at it and I say, yo, the Raptors have been relatively healthy. Can you imagine how much panic and doom and gloom there would be around this team if one of the players that you're hoping to trade or hold on the trading block or Scotty were to have like a serious injury? So continue to be thankful that the Raptors have not had health issues to compound to all the other issues they've had. So yeah. Okay. Another boring one bites the dust. Okay, next up. 23 is gone. What's the next one? Sorry, I am really struggling. I'm just like, it's like I want to just pause this live so I can sneeze. I refuse to sneeze on air. I don't want to do it. I haven't done it. I don't think I've done it yet, so I'm not going to do it. I keep coughing on air, but I won't sneeze. I will not do it. Okay. I'm seeing 24. Let's go to 24. Okay, finally an interesting one. For the public to stop calling Darko stupid because he has an accent and weird facial expressions. That's funny. I'm laughing at my own joke. This is how pathetic I am right now. Okay, look. A lot of people have been calling Darko Rajakovic stupid. I don't remember these conversations ever being levied against Nick Nurse. No one ever called Nick Nurse stupid. At no point did anyone ever call Nick Nurse stupid. But on the regular, on Twitter, almost every single day, I hear Darko Rajakovic being called some variation of stupid, an idiot, whatever. Okay, look, the Raptors defense did not work last year. Quite frankly, it did not work. I mean, you want to talk about winning the possession battle every single night while leaving corner shooters wide open as your defensive rating tanks. You can call that working all you want, but it was stubborn. Nick Nurse was stubborn. Nick Nurse insisted on, running Scotty off the ball. Nick Nurse compromised development. I don't remember anyone ever calling him stupid. Other terms were used: stubborn, reluctant, corrupt, all sorts of things, egotistical, but never stupid. I've always wondered why, Darko Rajakovic immediately gets branded as this happy-go-lucky moron, And the only thing I can think of, honestly, is a subconscious xenophobic bias against people with an accent. I think if you come from one of these countries, you know that it exists, right? You know that it exists. You know that there is a component to this where the way someone sounds and talks and their mannerism of speaking informs our bias and subconscious bias towards their intelligence level. Trust me, I would never gas this guy up for no reason. Darko Rajakovic is an incredibly smart person, man. He might be wrong. He might be stubborn. He might be a lot of things. But people who barely understand the game of basketball on Twitter calling him stupid, idiot, moron, needs to get fired. I mean, my God, you guys got to be kidding. And I have a feeling it's because he's not arrogant. I mean, I might say his reluctance to bench Dennis is, egotistical and arrogant, but he doesn't come off as arrogant. He doesn't come off as a know-it-all. He doesn't come off as smug. He's not sarcastic. We've gone he doesn't use overly complicated words and lingo. He doesn't talk down to people. He kind of talks up. And I find this entire, personality type often gets brandish as stupid, or buffoon or, comedic. And this is just where I'm at with this. I just think that I wish that people would stop calling him stupid because I don't think he's stupid. Call him whatever you want. But This is the greatest name ever. Simp Exterminator. Wow. I haven't seen you around these parts, but this name is going to make me laugh every single time. Um, I mean, I guess maybe I'm over paying attention to Twitter, but yeah, I see a lot of people calling him stupid all the time. So, anyways, okay, let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to my next Christmas wish list item. Whatever number you guys pick, we're going to go with that. Okay, 3 comments, 4 comments. I'm not looking, and let's just go with the next number. Your goat goes with 1. Oh, Tony. You know what? Your goat, you already got 1. Let's go with Tony, 6. Okay. So, okay, 6. What is 6? Ah, yes. Christian Coloco positive health update. So, look, man, I love Christian Coloco. I think he's a fantastic young player. And the fact that we haven't gotten word on him, compound the fact that, some of us had some really high hopes for him. I've obviously talked him up a lot, so this community is going to be a little bit biased in that regard. But there's a reason to be talking him up. He had an incredibly positive impact defensively last year. There was an absolute correlation between him and Scotty playing well together, being his most frequent screener. And, Scotty's advanced himself so much as a pick and roll ball handler that to think that those two potentially could be dominating with the second unit, and Coloco, with increased work and attention to offensive package development this offseason, that he could have been more efficient, because that was a big thing for him last year, finishing around the rim. His touch wasn't the greatest. His strength finishing wasn't the greatest. So if that had improved, his jump shot had improved, I mean, we could be talking about a completely different team. And I know that it probably is reading disingenuous to certain people. If I talk too much about Christian Coloco being a difference, people will be like, he's a second round pick. But ask yourself how many second round picks have made a difference, or fringe late first round picks have made a difference. Look at last night. We played against the Jazz. Walker Kessler came in the game, totally changed the complexion of the game. You cannot deny how much rim protection helps. And I don't feel like we've had great rim protection this year at all, apart from Scotty Barnes, the weak side shot blocker. I think Christian Coloco would help a lot with that. More than anything, I'm just concerned about him and his basketball future. The Raptors have been overly secretive about what's been going on with him. It's really frustrating. Obviously, I respect privacy, and if it's serious or if it's COVID related or whatever he's going through right now, there's a host of potential conspiracies and theories in terms of what's going on with him. Is it a lung thing? I mean, again, teams are usually very, very, very cautious when it comes to things like this, because the last thing that any team would ever want is for a player to pass out or, God forbid, die on the basketball court. It's just not worth it. It's not a risk that any team has been willing to take, whether it be kidney issues, lung issues. There have been so many players, blood clots. There have been so many issues where players have had careers shut down because of this. I'm praying to God that this is not a career-threatening, serious issue, and that it's going to be something that's being worked on and hopefully will be resolved at some point very soon. But an update would be nice. To hear that he's either coming back or that he's out for the season, but he'll be back next season. Just something, leaving us dangling on so many areas of this team. And I know that this is not technically part of it, and maybe this will be part of another number that someone picks. But this this confusion and lack of communication is very frustrating for me. What is going on with Pascal? What is going on with OG? They've left these extensions on the table. Now, granted, with OG, you can't extend them because you can't pay him enough. But with Pascal, leaving that, it's open. Grady, what's going on with him? Why is he not playing? Otto, there's a bunch of secrecy and conflicting stuff, that happens. Okay, excuse me for 1 second. I'm just going to pull this up. I need to sneeze. Give me 1 sec, guys. Okay. So to be clear, I just want clarity and communication and a less secretive approach to things. Pascal not being extended, Grady not getting minutes, being told that Otto is definitely part of the rotation, but then seeing him healthy day after day after day, not getting minutes. That has never been communicated. Why? Being told that Banton and Jeff Doughton were part of the future in a press conference by Masai Ujiri, only to see both gone from the team. Why? Do you really think that Marquise Noel has a bigger future in the NBA than Delano Banton? Are you crazy? Like, I doubt it. I'm sorry. I don't get it. I don't see it. Justin Champagny. There's so many, like, the communication from this front office and the consistency of the messaging and the vagueness of the messaging might be what is so confusing, that the plan that was laid out has never been followed, right? If you're contending, then contend, but then do things that are congruent with that. So this Christian Coloco thing, I think, has been, it's just like when I talk about the Raptors defense, you know, how it's a matter of hitting a sort of critical mass. I think the frustration that a fan base can take also comes down to a critical mass. And the critical mass argument is just that, how many things do you expect people to be upset about? We're upset about the draft pick being shipped out, that we don't even have the optionality to tank. We're upset about the 13th overall pick being, you know, kind of not used and looking really bad when he's been used, maybe not being used properly. There's a vagueness about it. There's a frustration. There's anxiety about it because there's confusion about it. People don't like to be confused about too many things all at once. It leads to mistrust. And I think this Christian Coloco thing is just icing on top of a cake, because it's super frustrating, right? It's super frustrating. There's too many things hanging over us right now. There's the draft pick going out to San Antonio. There's the future of Pascal and OG. There's the health of Christian Coloco. There's the bust potential of Grady Dick, which I think is overblown, but valid, totally valid. You know, there's the pending free agency of Gary Trent Jr. This is too much. And when you start losing and you go 7 games under 500, this becomes too much. I don't think I can ever completely forgive this front office for what they have put this fan base through the last 2.5 years. It is really frustrating. All right, next number. Go ahead. What's the next number, y'all? That is a really great point. There have been a lot less leakiness. There's been a lot less leakiness. Rob, boil half an onion, 2 cloves of garlic, and a piece of hot pepper until it is the color of ginger ale. Drink while hot. It'll clear up your lungs and sinuses. Damn, that's great. That's a great suggestion. Thank you so much, man. Okay. Next one, Jason Watson. Hey, Jason, how you doing, man? Number 1. Okay, let's go with number 1. Okay, let me eliminate number 6. Okay. Number 1, a 3-level scorer who can create in the pick and roll. Sorry, this should have come with a trigger warning for Jordan Clarkson. Look, I'm not suggesting Jordan Clarkson, specifically Jordan Clarkson, but somebody of this sort, somebody who can come in and really just competently create. I mean, you saw how he absolutely torched us. Now, here's the crazy part. Sorry, YOURGOAT. To say this, the Pistons lost to this Utah Jazz team without Clarkson and without Kelly Olynyk. Now, if you consider Taylor Horton Tucker their third best player, we technically lost to the Utah Jazz without their third best player playing. Now, I think we need someone of this sort. Now, we talk about, you know, the Rudy Gay trade a lot. Gravis Vasquez was a guy who could sort of create a little bit off 3 levels. So was John Salmons. I'm talking about Lou Williams. There's so many guys where it's like they are a threat. They shift the defense. I'm not scared of anybody on the Raptors. Not Pascal Siakam. Like maybe Scotty Barnes when he gets it going. But other than that, I'm not really like Malachi Flynn is not inspiring fear in me. You know, Gary Trent a little bit. OG, hell no. So I need like a guy who has a reputation as a bucket and a guy who can create on all three levels, who's efficient on all three levels. He may not be the best defender. Probably you're not going to find that player if he's also an elite defender. He might be priced out, but somebody of that sort, a Colin Sexton, a Jordan Clarkson. There are guys. I'm not saying you can get Cam Thomas. I'm not really a huge Bones Highland fan, but you know, like there's a lot of guys of that sort. Be careful what you wish for, saying Abu. It's a player type. It's not a specific player. It's just a player type that I think is missing from this roster and has been missing for quite some time. You know, and there's really no reason why, you know, having a guy like Malachi Flynn, like you replace Malachi Flynn with Jordan Clarkson, this is a completely different team. Now that feels like this doesn't feel like a huge shift. But when you consider the shift in the defense and how much more space guys like Boucher and Achua might have, and maybe even a guy like Grady, if he could play off of his gravity. You know, yesterday on Twitter, you know, I went on afterwards after doing the live, and we started doing the Twitter spaces with Zazu. And we were just talking and, you know, had this really long debate with this guy who I think is very smart, Raps fan. And we're just talking about how fair is it to evaluate a team that is so inoptimally structured, right? How do you gauge Grady Dick, right? Like, how do you gauge him if he's a movement shooter who runs in transition and this team won't run in transition and they don't set picks for him? Often when you see them actually run a screen for him and he comes off the screen and he's usually in a really good position to score, and he's either missing a wide open jump shot or he's getting fouled or he's making a shot. I just think like it's really hard to judge players that are not in a good position. And I don't think this team has necessarily placed players in optimal positions to be successful. That's just my take. Okay, let's move on to the next one. What is the next number? I'm going to close my eyes, and whatever the next number is, let's go with it. So number 1 is now off the table. 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15, 14, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Wait. I hope that's not repeating. Okay, what's the next number? Spooky Ghost Rider, 19. Let's go with that. Okay, what is 9? Okay. Precious Achua gets really smart about basketball suddenly. Shoutouts to Arnold Schwarzenegger on this one in Total Recall. Okay. Honestly, man, there's so much tantalizing potential with Precious Achua. He puts together for a quarter, a half a quarter, 3 possessions. You could really sell yourself. Like if you just watch that, man, if I compiled a highlight of Precious Achua, I could really convince you he was like one of the top 50 players in the league. But if I compiled you a low light of Precious Achua, he might be honestly the dumbest player in all of pro sports. He really does have these lapses in concentration where he just loses his mind. Yesterday's fadeaway mid-range attempt airball was possibly just like, what goes through your head? What are these brain farts and brain freezes? I wonder if the game is too fast for him, but it's not. There are moments where it's like he's running pick and roll like he's friggin' like it's incredible. Like his highs are so high, his lows are so low. It's like incredible to watch. It's hilarious, yes, right? But it is some crazy shit. And you just wonder, is there something that we can do for him? Is there some sort of instructional? Is there some sort of hypnotherapy? Some sort of, exorcism that we can put him through? Some sort of, like those kid videos in terms of like learning how to play basketball. Is there like one of those videos that he just hasn't watched or read at some point? What goes on in the mind of a player who does some of the great things he does and then follows it up with it's really like it's like a wild card, bro. It's like you throw a dice and you don't know if you're getting a 6 or a 1 or if you're getting snake eyes. You just don't know. You just don't know. On a night-to-night basis, fuck, not even on a night-to-night basis. I wish I could tell you if he has a good first half that he's going to carry it through the second half. We don't know. Anytime you put him in the game, he could probably throw the ball out of bounds 4 times and pick up 4 fouls in like 12 seconds, or he could splash 2 threes, get to the rim, and have. I have seen a lot of inconsistent players in my life. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything like this. It happens sometimes with like really young players, like 18, 19 years old, maybe like, you know, you're really rolling the dice today. But this level of consistency and inconsistency, it's so consistent. His inconsistency is so consistent. He might be the most consistently inconsistent player in all of pro sports. Maybe that's a little bit nicer than saying he's just so stupid. Just being fair. Okay, let's move on to something else. So go ahead with the next number, and I'll pick it as we go. Where is Precious Achua? So I can eliminate that. 19 is gone. Okay, so we have 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. There's a lot left. I'm going to try to cap this off. Like, I feel like I'll probably go too long if I go through all 30, so I'll leave 15 for tomorrow, but I'm happy I'm eliminating them. It keeps it nice and organized. Paradise Lost saying Jalen McDaniels is slow too. I don't know if he's slow. I think he's just disinterested. 15. Okay, let's see what 15 is. 15 is okay. Great. I like when there's variety, yo. Like I do. Number 15, a public apology from the media for the Scotty slander last year. Oh, if you ever want to get me heated and passionate about a topic, it's this one. Yo, seriously. This clown right here was not alone, and I will never forget what they did to him. It's not that I won't move on from it. It's just that I simply cannot excuse the behavior of ripping a 21-year-old with fabricated lies and misguided propaganda. I'm so proud of him and so happy for him that he's come back storming, and now basically they are clinging on to him for dear life. Scotty's making this year worth it. Scotty Barnes is the only bright light at the end of the tunnel, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah. Like nut hug all you want now, but don't just walk away from what you did last year. This is not stay on your side. By all means, come on this side, but don't ignore what you did, because I have a feeling that because you've gotten away with it, you're going to get to do that to Grady, Koloko, whoever. And I don't appreciate that. Now, there is this notion that anytime a player struggles, something has happened. Something is wrong. Something is conspired. And they're doing something wrong. They're either immature, or they're an idiot, or they don't work hard enough, or they need a new trainer, or whatever the fucking narrative is around this player. It's flavor of the month. Pick a choice. Honestly, man, y'all did it for the clickbait. You totally did it for the clickbait. You did it to support Fred VanVleet's quest for, not being liable for what was happening on the basketball court. You didn't want to hold him accountable as a leader. You didn't want to hold him accountable for shooting 29% from the three. So you basically scapegoated a dude. And you didn't just say he was playing bad. You could have said he was playing bad, and I don't think I would have been too upset about that at all, because he was playing poorly. You invented lies. You created a character that doesn't exist. You created a character who didn't work hard, who was immature, who was tough to get along with. Nothing of that is even remotely true. And it's not okay to just walk away from it and say, he's great now. Look, he fixed it. Y'all keep doubling down too. Even this year, you say, oh, wow, he's scoring more in the first quarter. Looks like he's finally picked up on it. Or it's nice to see his conditioning is right. I'm sick and tired of hearing this conditioning thing. Just because he said he needs to get into better shape to play the way he wants to play does not excuse the fact that he is honestly one of the hardest working players on your team in terms of rebound rate, distance traveled on defense, role on defense, complexity of role on defense, the things that Nurse had him doing last year offensively and defensively. Even when he scored 2 points, I guarantee you he took more steps on a basketball court than Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby. This guy is constant motion. He doesn't get to camp out in the corner. Oh, he's setting a screen. He sets 4 screens in a friggin' play where he doesn't touch the basketball. You think that's free? You don't think that takes a toll on your body? He's sprinting back defensively. He's covering 1 through 5. He's guarding Jokic one night, Emmanuel Quickly the next night, Mitchell Robinson the next night. Are you kidding me? This is slanderous. And to do this at 21, by the way, an age where most players are not even remotely close to contributing to winning. He contributed from day one. So it's not enough to simply change your tune. I need an apology, and I need a big one. I was wrong and I'll be better. Maybe that's asking for too much from people who don't hold themselves accountable, gaslight themselves, gaslight everybody, lie about everything, manipulate. But seriously, y'all need to apologize. And I haven't heard it. I have not heard a I was wrong, my bad. I've heard a much better season from Scotty Barnes. No. No. You are technically okay. You are in the position of journalist, media, whatever. So you think you're not God. You know, if I say Pascal Siakam has been terrible on defense, and I harp on it and I create an entire narrative on it, if Pascal Siakam comes out and plays great defense for a whole year, I have to say I'm wrong. That's just the accountable thing to do. Y'all weren't raised right. You weren't raised right. That's the problem with most of you people. You're not raised right. Anyways, so go get off on that. Okay, next number. I'll go off for like freaking 4 hours on this one if you let me. So let's go with the next one. Next number up. $10. Oh, wow. Y'all picked the same one. Apparently 10's a good one. I don't know if 10 is a good one at all. Is it? Yay. Okay, we can talk about something different and less triggering for me. Minutes for Javon and Jonte. So Javon Freeman Liberty is a miniature version of that 3-level scoring, penetrating guard. He's often played a little bit of point guard for the 905. He is the type of guy who can get downhill. He may not be like the most talented version of that type of player, but I think it would be really, really smart for the Raptors to play him when he gets healthy and he gets right. And I just think like he could really help. Like he can put pressure on the rim. The only thing that he doesn't really help with right now is he's not going to get the level of attention. So it's going to be like putting another Malachi Flynn out there. It's just he's a little bit bigger than Malachi. He's got probably I think he's a better shooter than Malachi. That's just me. Watching him at Windy City Bulls, DePaul, in the summer league, this guy feels like he's a heater. Like he could get off. And it's part of another, wish list item for me, but just, I'll touch on it briefly right now. You need one of these guys to work out. Jonte Porter, another player type that I really, really would like to see next to Scotty, a scoring shooting big. Now, I say this very clearly. There's a big difference between a shooter and a guy who shoots. It's funny, actually. I'm thinking about Christmas memories, and my aunt, I remember one time, so my aunt was a little bit more well-to-do, and I obviously grew up very poor. So I was used to getting my toys from Goodwill or Walmart. I didn't go to toy stores because typically toy stores were more expensive. And I remember her coming, to our house, and she's like, I'm going to take you Christmas shopping. And then she asked me, she's like, where's the toy store? And I directed her to Kmart. And she's like, no, a toy store, like a real toy store. And I don't think at that point I'd really been to a toy store other than Toys R Us. I don't really know what she was talking about. She was talking about those things at the mall, like toys, and like, real toy stores. They always felt more expensive to me. We don't really go in there. I say this to say, not only to tie in some random anecdote from my childhood, but simply to say that there is a difference between a shooter and a guy who shoots. It's different. Shooters are respected. Guys who shoot are not. Scotty's right now a guy who shoots. Klay Thompson is a shooter. I'm pretty sure Scotty's shooting better than Klay Thompson right now, but it doesn't matter. Luka Doncic, like weirdly enough, is a guy who's respected as a shooter, despite the fact that he does not shoot well. Historically has not shot well. Kyrie Irving's a shooter. Steph Curry is like the shooter of all shooters. You got to look at that and say the attention that a shooter grabs on the court and creates for other players is really the value of the shooter, is half the value of the shooter. The other half of the value naturally is the fact that that player can make efficient shots from the basketball court. So Jonte Porter, being the brother of Michael Porter Jr. and being a stretch big who's basically out there with his reputation as that's the shooting big. He will, weirdly enough, create a very different defensive attention for his teammates than a guy like Precious Achiuwa, who's a guy who can occasionally shoot, or Chris Boucher, who's a guy who can occasionally shoot. You don't have enough shooters on this team. Grady is a shooter. Even though he's shooting 25%, he still gets the attention of being a shooter. Otto is a shooter. These guys are so important for your lineup. And weirdly enough, it's almost crazy to say, I don't think Darko really understands the difference between a shooter and a guy who shoots. Like, maybe he does, and it's ignorant for me to say he doesn't, but it doesn't feel like with his lineup choices that I see that he really understands that there is such a difference between Gary Trent Jr. shooting 35% and being respected as a shooter around the league, and Dennis Schroeder shooting 35% and not being respected as a shooter. They can both shoot 30. Look, Fred VanVleet shot 29% for an entire calendar year, or 30% for an entire calendar year. Teams still massively respected that dude because he's a shooter. You understand? You know what I mean? High volume. People don't like to get shooters going because if they get going, they can end your night. You know what I mean? So if you have the reputation of a guy who could gun 8, 9, 10 threes and they have to stop you, then that's what they're going to do. Jonte Porter is developing weirdly. He may not be, Kelly Olynyk, but he is the type of guy who can potentially, conceivably, create that type of, gravity for you. So I would like to see Javon and Jonte play for spacing alone. Put them on the court with really good players and see how they play off of them. You might be surprised. If nothing else, I think you'll get a better idea of what players of that sort could do for your offense, if that makes sense. Anyways, next number up. What are we going with? What number was that? That was 10. Okay, so let's remove 10. Let me see how many we have left. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We have 22 left. So that means we have seven more left today. So we've only gone through 8. Okay, cool. So let me just... Okay, next number is Rank Scrub saying 22. Okay, let's see what 22 is. That's funny. Okay, a win against the Pistons. Oh, it sounds crazy, but honestly, like I can't even tell you how terrible it would be for this team to be the team that the Pistons end that streak against. It's just on my Christmas wish list. Santa, please make it happen. If you make nothing happen other than this, please just make this happen. Please just let us not be the team that loses to the Pistons. I've been saying for weeks, I think we will be the team, but man, please understand. I am not rooting for this for anybody. I don't like what's happening to the Pistons. Okay. I don't. I think this is a team that I've rooted for in the past. I grew up a fan of looking back on the old bad boy Pistons. I like the 2004 team more than I could even express into words. I've been a Pistons fan, okay? Like, I've never lived in Detroit. I've never really had any ties to Detroit, but I've always liked their teams. They're gritty. They're hardworking. And seeing this gutless product on the basketball court is not something I would wish on any fan base. But man, I am a Raptor fan, and there's no way in hell that I want to see my team lose to this team. It would be sad. It would be devastating. It would be soul crushing for it to be. So yeah, not much else to say about that. Please carry on with the next number, but I do not want us to lose to the Pistons, man. Please don't let it happen. All right, that's 1 down. Next one up is 2, and then we got 5 more from there. And our Christmas show will probably be an hour long. Blue color stream. Jason Watson saying 14. Has 14 been taken? Nope, 14 has not been taken. All right. Whoops. Flashed the wrong one. Screwed that up. Okay. Masai Ujiri press conference addressing the fans. To my previous point of vagueness and not being quite, transparent enough with the fans. I would like to know what Masai Ujiri thinks. And not just for Africa Night or Giants of Africa Night, where he just vaguely talks about winning. I want an honest reflection and something that I can take to the bank and say, oh, you're saying you're going to do this? You're going to do it? Okay, do it. He has been severely disappointing over the last couple of years. Vague mentions of maybe it's me, maybe there's something I'm doing wrong, have been followed up by more of the same stuff. There's something that I like to think about in my own personal life, that when someone apologizes to me for doing something and I forgive them and then they do the same thing again, I don't forgive them twice. That's abuse, Now, I'm not going there with Masai, but it is genuinely torturous to promise one thing: there will be no selfishness. Open your eyes. There has been so much. There's been so much individualism. Okay, yeah, you could look at the assist numbers and say, okay, we're not being selfish. Watch the games. Are you kidding me? How many times have guys derailed the offense and just go after their own? How many times you don't think it's selfish to not box out, and you don't think it's selfish to ask a teammate to help you and then not rotate over on their man and then make them look like an idiot? You don't think it's selfish to toss the ball at people's feet and then force them to pick up turnovers or put them in terrible optimized positions to score? You don't think it's selfish to not set a screen for your teammate, to just go screen them and just tell them to go fuck themselves because you don't want to take the contact? You don't think it's not selfish to box out for rebounds and close the gap defensively and just kind of allow your center to keep picking up fouls, or to allow your teammate to be on an island? All of these things are selfish. All of them. Now, I'm not holding anyone particularly responsible. I am, however, saying if you're going to say there's no selfishness, open your eyes. If you're going to tell me that, we need to pick a direction and we're building around Scotty and all the talk has been building around Scotty, then don't put this dog shit roster around him. I want real questions. The problem with these Masai pressers is he doesn't get really pressed. And I feel like right now, if he was to do a presser, I feel like this media has just grown enough of a quarter of a ball to be able to ask him some really hard pressing questions. Namely, and again, leaving all these things in the air, you've left too much to the imagination. Not to double down on what I said earlier, but really, there's too much. There's too much confusion. There's too many broken promises. There's too many balls in the air for us to feel comfortable as a fan base. And I just want them to address it. I want a clear 1 hour honest sit down about what's gone on with this team, so that we can stop guessing. We can stop guessing about what happened with the 905. We can stop guessing about what happened with draft picks and who was available for what. The Raptors don't leak anything, which is great, for the players that they're protecting, and they're very secretive as an organization and they don't have a ton of leaks. But then, for us as fans, it's a little bit frustrating because we're seeing the management and the team come out and give one set of answers, and we're watching the body language on the court last year and we're like, wait, these guys really not fucking with each other. They're not vibing with each other. What's going on? Transparency is a very important thing for every organization, in my opinion. Anyways, next up, next one, let's go. So we got 14 out of the way. Let's take that off the docket. And we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 23, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay. 5. Okay. Let's go with 5, Toronto 416. Let's go with Toronto 416. Did I already pick one of yours? Okay, we got 2 for 5. Let's do 5 and then 23. Okay, so we'll do 5 and then we'll do 23. Okay, let's do 2 for 1 here. Number 5. Free Grady Dick. Absolutely, man. I am sick and tired of watching a team go 7 games under 500 as your 13th overall lottery pick, who fills a ton of needs for you, is not getting minutes. Now, I'm sorry. If defense is the problem, there have been a lot of players who've sunk on defense. Hide the guy. If defense is such an issue, you have the rotation, you have the pieces around him to hide him. Put him on a player that isn't very good. Why does he always end up on like a really dominant wing? I don't want to see that. Okay. Just get him on the court, get him some reps. You know, I understand he needs to do some 905 stints or whatever, but this is not Pascal Siakam. This is not, Christian Cologne. This is not a second round pick. Okay. This is a guy who genuinely needs time to develop. He fills a need on your roster. He's a shooter. Shooters can catch a rhythm. And I don't necessarily think that it's great for his confidence, that he's getting DNP CDs and getting stapled to the bench. Now, if you genuinely believe that he's got work ethic issues or focus issues and you're trying to save him from himself, then I understand that. I get that. But unless that is actually the case, then I want to see this guy get minutes. And I think that fans would be a little less frustrated. Come hell or high water, I would rather see Grady go out for 15 minutes than see Malachi Flynn, Gary Trent Jr. No, I like Gary. Like I do. I like Gary. But there's a lot of guys on this team that are not going to be here next year. And I'm being straight up about that. Like if you drew a line down the roster, I think you could probably draw a line at 3 guys who are for sure going to be here next year. And that's Scotty, Precious, and Grady. Some people may not like the Precious part, but he's probably going to be here. Probably Koloko as well. One of those guys hasn't played. One of those guys isn't playing. One of those guys is the most inconsistent player on earth. And the other guy has been like a borderline all-star. I think you need those 4 guys. Okay. So, and I mean, look, OG may be here, maybe not. But that's the thing. It's like maybe we would feel a lot more secure as a fan base if he had like a 4-year guaranteed contract and we could actually invest in it, So it's the same thing the players are going through, which is a lack of investment, a lack of knowing where they're going to be. I think it's the same thing that the fans are going through with trying to understand. And let's go to 23. Let's take 5 off the board and let's go to 23. And what is 23? Health and growth for all the players. I already said this, so let's delete that. 23 has been done. I apologize. So that means that we have 3 left. 3 left, and we have 8 minutes to go to knock out our 3. So go with the number 3. Okay, let's go for it. What is 3? A Pascal Siakam trade. Uh-oh, tripped on the trip mine. Okay, as much as I'm okay with Pascal Siakam sticking around, if he buys in defensively, if he, is much better, I honestly, I'm ready to move on. Okay, like if you're asking me Pascal or OG, yeah, OG maybe nets you more, but Pascal, like, it's also for him. It's also for him. Look, man, this is, depending on how you think about it, this is easily one of, in my opinion, the 250 best players of all time. Okay. When he retires, he'll have that distinction. Will he ever crack 150? I doubt it. But he's one of the better players in NBA history. And I feel the last 3 to 4 years of his career have been wasted to some extent. It's partially his doing. It's partially the roster around him. It's partially where we are. It's partially Scotty. It's partially a lot of things. But I, for one, think that if you're a Pascal Siakam fan, then you should want to see him go to Indiana, play with a competent point guard and some spacing and a coach who sees what he can do for the half court. Maybe he'll buy in defensively. Maybe he won't. But I have a streaking suspicion that if you put him next to Steph Curry or Tyrese Haliburton, you're going to see a much better Pascal Siakam. For the Raptors, it'll clarify a timeline, it'll clarify a direction, and it will take a leader who's not really a leader and put him into a more comfortable position as a follower. It'll be very difficult for Scotty to usurp him as a leader in this organization right now. It's very difficult. There's a seniority. He's a champion. He's all NBA. There's a lot of politicking when it comes to the NBA, okay? It's not easy for a guy like Scotty Barnes to just walk into a roster with an all-star, another all-star, all-NBA champion, and just be like, it's my team now. You need to kind of clear the deck. I hate to say it, but it's true. You can keep finessing it. You can keep trying to say that it's just going to work out between these two. But the dynamic between two people can never really work. Think about it. Think about all the times it's happened. When have you ever seen a guy in his prime just graciously walk out of the way for someone who's young and up and coming? It almost never happens that way, right? If you have a player at that guy's position, like an Eddie Jones versus a Kobe Bryant, Eddie Jones was still in his prime. They moved Eddie Jones. It just doesn't completely work. Sure, they could have moved Eddie to the three. They could have moved Eddie to the bench, right? But ultimately, they got rid of guys like Nick Van Exel and Eddie Jones because it's never going to work completely. You're looking at what's happening with Victor Wembanyama, right? Like, I mean, there's all these conspiracies all over the internet that his teammates are jealous of him. Now, I don't know if this is true because I certainly don't watch enough Spurs games to validate this, but it's clear that, people are human and they're going to look at this and say, what am I, chopped liver? A guy like Keldon Johnson, who's been there, who's averaged 20 points per game, he's probably looking at this guy coming in as a rookie and probably experiencing his own self as a rookie saying, I had to pay mine. Why don't you pay yours? And look, that's fair. A lot of people feel that way. Fred felt that way. Why should Scottie be handed the reins of the team? Why should he be handed all the opportunities? I had to work for mine. You work for yours. You clear Fred out of the way. You clear Pascal out of the way. You almost clear the path for Scottie to rise as your natural leader. I think it will help both parties. I think it's time for a divorce. It's time. Like, we can just move on, And I think for the Raptors, hopefully you get pieces that fit a little bit better. You get spacing, hopefully. Someone asked me the other day, would you do Chris Paul, Moses Moody, and Brandon Podziemski? Absolutely, 100%. Both teams get better. Do it. Okay, next number. Okay, so we have 2, 4, 8, 9, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 25, 27, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 left. Next one is 0. There's no 0. So let's go with 4. Is there a 4? Have we done it yet? Yes. Future draft capital via trade. This is definitely something that I will be requesting that Santa Claus put into my stocking, which is some future draft capital via trade. Now, there's some specific players that I really like in the 2 drafts after this one. Right at the top prospects are really interesting and they're really good. And if you're scouting these drafts, you definitely can feel that. They're going to be like some really good players available, but I would just really like for the Raptors to stock the cupboard with, some draft capital, future seconds, future firsts, just get something of value that you can potentially leverage. Like almost all of these trades where the guy that you want to trade for is marginally better than the guy that you're trading, almost all of them require like this first round pick to get it done because fans are obsessed with first round picks. They get really excited when you get a first round pick. Look at how San Antonio fleeced us for our first round picks in back-to-back years. So you look at it that way and you say, okay, like I would like for this team to, maybe get 2 future firsts for one of these players. Maybe Gary Trent goes out the door, or Chris Boucher goes out the door to a contender and you get a late first, maybe even a next year's draft. I just want us to take some stabs at young prospects. Okay. Radmir Hema saying, I want to keep Gary Trent Jr. Sure, absolutely. But you have to understand that he will have an option next off season to go wherever he wants. He is completely unrestricted. And we have not done him any favors over the last couple of years, benching him through and through. So I'm not sure that he even wants to come back at this point. That's a conversation that I've not been privy to, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't understand why he'd want to come back. He has a good relationship with the coach, fine. Maybe he has a good relationship with Scottie and his teammates, fine. But he does not see himself as a bench player. So SG is saying Gary ain't worth more than 1 mid-level, in my opinion. Maybe. I think he could be worth more if he was playing a little bit better. Anyways, yeah, so I just want us to get some draft capital and to be able to get that. Okay, let me see. Is that all 15? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Wait, what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Oh, there's one more. So final one. And we're going to go over the hour. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 21, 20, 18, 17, 16, 13, 12, 9, 8, 2. Don't worry, these will all be renumbered tomorrow from 1 to 15. So the next one up will be the final one. 21 for Kevin Garnett. All right. Sticking on to the taking stabs, a surprise prospect pops somewhere we're due. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We need somebody to be a pop. Now, when we drafted Norman Powell, nobody expected that dude to be a starter level contributor at some point, or like one of the best 6 men in the NBA. When we signed Fred VanVleet as an undrafted free agent, no one expected that dude to be anything more than probably waived by training camp. He became a 3rd string point guard, 2nd string point guard, 1st string point guard. Wow. In 2 years. When we drafted Christian Coloco, probably not a lot of people expected very much. When we drafted Pascal Siakam, probably not a lot of people expected very much. 27th overall pick, Natscal Labissiere. The amount, like, here's the thing. From 2014, hold on. Let me be accurate about this. Yes, from 2014 till 2019, almost every single thing that we touched, or this front office touched, every prospect became slightly better than you expected, if not way better than you expected. From that date, 2019 to now, almost every prospect has been most likely worse than what you expected, with the exception of Scotty. And Scotty last year was trending into the worse than you expected range as well. Okay, so that's Christian Coloco with his health issues, Grady Dick with a tough start, Delano Banton gone, David Johnson gone, nothing happening with this 905 program, no gems being unearthed. We need something to come out of this. Now there's 4 really prospects that are okay. This backing up, gosh, these trucks are so annoying. I had my window open just to let some fresh air, and it's just like beep, 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 beep. Jeez. So I would like for this team to get something surprising. Terrence Davis was surprising, right? Terrence Davis was surprising. I had some hopes for Joe Wieskamp. I had some hopes for Jeff Doughton. They let them both go, right? I think they're valuable player types, but they haven't caught on anywhere else, so maybe I look stupid. I have hope for Christian Coloco. I have hope for Jonte Porter. He's been playing well for the 905, but it's the 905, right? So I just want to see one of these guys pop because, these guys pop every year, just not for us, right? Isaiah Joe, where was he, in the draft cycle? There's a lot of guys like this. Trace Jackson Davis, he's a 57th overall pick, playing like 26 minutes, 25 minutes every other night for the Golden State Warriors. We need one of these guys to pop. David Johnson did not work. He was gone within a year. Jalen Harris did not work. He was gone very soon. There was a center that we drafted at the very end, whose name I cannot remember right now. He did not work at all. We have I don't want to say you squandered 2nd round picks, because in reality, like, most 2nd round picks are complete crapshoot. But between all your 2-way spots, which are usually spent on, undrafted guys, Ron Harper Jr., Justin Champagnie, how do you go 0 for like 4 years straight? You know what I mean? Like, everyone sucked. No one worked out. No one hung around. You didn't get anybody. There's not even a Terrence Davis here. There's not an Ayo Dosunmu. There's nothing. Nothing. You have nothing to show for it. There's not a single 2nd rounder who's panned out for you in years. Not a single G League prospect. Not a single, discovery. And the worst part is there have been guys who've kind of come in through your program and then left your program and been successful. We need someone to be successful. There needs to be some avenue other than a trade, free agent signing, or a 1st round draft pick that nets you a positive contributor. This could be Europe. This could be bringing a guy in from Europe where maybe someone is not seeing what they are valued at. There was a entire discussion, I remember, when the Raptors traded under Brian Colangelo for Kyle Lowry. And they talked about this guy rotting away in Houston who was a top 10 point guard hiding in plain sight. You got him for a first round pick. That's the type of trade you need. Derek White was a starting shooting guard and probably a top 40 player right now in the NBA, easily hiding in plain sight, withering away in San Antonio. I need us to get a win, okay, in some way. And the easiest way to get a win, easier said than done, is to have one of these G League prospects actually pop, to do some intense scouting work. And I realize like scouting is so much more, advanced than it used to be. It's harder to find these gems than it used to be. There aren't really countries and continents being ignored by scouts as much as they were before. So you're not really going to find them. But the Raptors have so many ties into international markets. You're telling me that you could look at all of these international markets and you don't see a single point guard under 25 who's better than Malachi Flynn? Y'all are crazy. There has to be. I would bet my life and everything I own that there is a point guard better than Malachi Flynn who's currently without an NBA contract who's under 24. There has to be. Find him. Shit. So that's the thing. Anyways, that is the end of this live. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas Eve. Your goat. Guess what, Rob? I did the timestamps for you. I'll put it in the comments. Oh man, you're awesome. Thank you so much for that. His name is Jeff Doughton. Awesome. Yes. I love Jeff Doughton. So yeah, I mean, look, it's scouting talent, it's executive talent, it's really like all over. The Raptors need to straighten out their, they need to get some talent in the door. Maybe it's in the front office, maybe it's in the scouting department, but they need to invigorate themselves with, I think about this a lot. The Raptors feel stale. Does that make sense? Yes, it was DeJuan Hernandez. That was the center I was talking about. JFL is hiding in plain sight on our bench. I believe that Javon Freeman Liberty has a chance. I also believe that Jonte Porter has a chance. I'm not sure about Mohamedou Gay, but maybe, Moji. Yeah, like SG saying super stale, boring, mega boring. Yeah, I mean, look, certain companies get like this. They lose the zest for invigoration. They lose the motivation. They lose the creativity. They just lose their edge, if that makes sense. I feel like the Raptors have, to some extent, lost their edge when it comes to being creative thinkers. Anyways, so that is it for this live. I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas Eve if you celebrate. If you don't celebrate Christmas, then I hope that you spend the holidays with your family and friends and cherish these moments. They do not last forever, as I like to say. They really don't. And yeah, I'll catch you guys tomorrow, maybe tomorrow morning, maybe tomorrow evening. At some point, I will definitely do the live with the remaining 15 items numbered from 1 to 15. And once again, I thank you all for hanging with us and supporting us through a tragic season for the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, we all care about the Raptors. We all love the Raptors. We all, have our favorite players on the team, and we just want to see this team be better. And I hope that they will be better starting on the 27th. I hope this is the last time that I am covering a, losing team. I hope this team isn't a losing team this year. I want them to win. I want them to be competitive. And I hope that we, the Raptor fans, can look back on this 2 months from now and say, just like, the Orlando Magic, the Boston Celtics a couple of years ago, can look back on a tough start and say, we're better off for that. I hope that it's moving in a positive direction, man. Yeah. Thank you. All right, guys. Take care and have a great one. Yeah. Peace.